Imagine sitting in a courtroom. A wife takes the stand, and instead of defending her husband, she points her finger directly at him. In the interrogation room, she told him she loved him, that she wouldn't give in, and that they would get through it together. But fast forward to the courtroom. Everything changes. The same wife who once promised loyalty now turns on her husband. With tears in her eyes, she calls him a monster, an abuser, and the sole reason their baby girl is gone. The husband sits just feet away as his own wife betrays him in front of the world. But what she didn't realize was that her attempt to shift the blame would backfire in the most devastating way. Because after hours of testimony, the judge delivered a decision so unexpected it left everyone speechless. Our story begins in rural Michigan with a young couple, Seth Welch and Tatiana Fusari. They had 3 children, lived on a farm, and outwardly projected themselves as devout, faithful people. But behind that picture-perfect image, there were signs that things were deeply wrong. Seth, known in his community for his fiery distrust of modern medicine, often spoke about how doctors couldn't be trusted. He claimed faith and prayer were all his family needed, and he made sure everyone around him knew it. Tatiana, his quiet wife, rarely spoke out. Friends and neighbors thought of her as reserved, even timid. What no one knew at the time was that silence would later become the center of a shocking courtroom strategy, one where she would turn her words into weapons against her own husband. On August 2, 2018, tragedy struck. Their 10-month-old daughter, Mary Welch, was found lifeless in her crib. Her tiny body told a story words could hardly capture. Sunken eyes, visible ribs, cheeks hollowed from severe malnutrition. When Seth called 911, his words were chillingly detached. He told dispatchers his daughter was dead as a doornail.
He said, when you found her, she was already believed to be deceased, right? Yes. And that's when you consulted with a lawyer? Yes. Do you believe she was beyond help already? Oh, yeah, she was dead as a doornail.
That call set the tone for what would become one of the most unforgettable trials in Michigan's history. Investigators quickly determined Mary's death wasn't sudden. It was the result of prolonged neglect and starvation. Prosecutors charged both Seth and Tatiana with first-degree child abuse and felony murder.
You're both charged with what they call felony murder. It is life without parole. It requires a DNA sample to be taken upon arrest. They're alleging you knowingly or intentionally caused serious physical harm to a child. They're talking about this Mary Welch. It is a felony, possible penalty of up to life imprisonment or any term of years less than life.
Both parents were facing life behind bars. But then came the twist. When it was time for Tatiana Fusari to defend herself, she made a shocking decision. Instead of standing united with her husband, she turned against him. On the stand, Tatiana painted a picture of a household ruled by fear. She claimed Seth was abusive, physically, emotionally, and even sexually. She testified that he forbade her from taking Mary to a doctor, that he beat her when she questioned him, and that she lived every day terrified of what he might do next.
He got mad at me because I wouldn't let him sleep. So he asked me what the wrong with me, and he rolled over to face me, and he He rolled over to face me, and he started punching me in the face. And then I tried to roll over onto my right side to face the wall, so he would just leave the front side of me alone, but he put his weight on me. I need everyone to know the truth. I'm tired of being afraid. My fear has not helped anything. I just don't want to be afraid anymore.
Her defense was simple. I wanted to help my baby, but my husband wouldn't let me. I had no choice.
At that time, I didn't know. I thought maybe she was ill and I didn't know about it. I didn't know. We didn't take her, I wasn't allowed to take her to a doctor. If she had some sort of virus or some sort of, I did not know what was wrong with her.
It was a direct betrayal, a wife testifying against her husband, exposing their private life, and trying to convince the jury that the baby's death was solely his fault. At first, her words landed heavily. Some even felt sympathy. Could it be that Tatiana was just another victim? A woman trapped under the control of an abusive partner. But then came cross-examination. The prosecutor pressed hard. If Seth controlled everything, why didn't she tell anyone? Why didn't she run? Why didn't she make the single anonymous call for help? Tatiana's answers stumbled. She claimed she didn't notice how unhealthy Mary looked, that she thought the baby was just small for her age. But photographs told another story. The jury could see Mary's frail frame. The evidence was undeniable. What began as a moment of sympathy quickly unraveled into suspicion. Was Tatiana truly a victim, or was she just trying to escape prison by turning on her husband? And then came the moment no one expected. The courtroom fell silent as the judge prepared to deliver instructions. Tatiana's lawyers had argued she was under duress, that her abuse at the hands of Seth made her legally less responsible. If the jury agreed, she could walk away with a lighter sentence, or possibly even avoid life in prison. Tatiana stood still, her eyes fixed on the bench, no doubt thinking her gamble had worked. But then the judge dropped the bombshell. The jury would not be allowed to consider duress as a defense. The very strategy Tatiana had relied on, her betrayal of her husband, her claim of being forced into silence, was stripped away in an instant. She would be judged, not as a victim, but as a full participant in the crime. The jury deliberated. Hours later, they returned with their verdict. Guilty of all charges. When the sentence was read, she received life without the possibility of parole.
The statute requires that I sentence Ms. Fusari to life without the possibility of parole. Ms. Fusari, you do have the right to appeal. And if you'd like to appeal and you cannot afford an attorney to assist you in that regard.
Tatiana's face fell. Her gamble had failed. She had betrayed her husband, thrown him under the bus, and yet in the eyes of the court, she was just as responsible. Seth Welch, too, was convicted and sentenced to life behind bars. The couple who once shared a home, a family, and a child would now spend the rest of their lives separated by prison walls. This case wasn't just about tragedy, it was about accountability. Tatiana Fusari thought she could escape justice by blaming her husband. She believed her betrayal would save her from prison. Instead, it sealed her fate. So here's the question for you. Was Tatiana truly a victim of abuse who deserved leniency, or was she a willing participant who only turned on her husband when the walls closed in? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because in the courtroom, betrayal might change the story, but it doesn't always change the outcome.